A little bit of a weak start for the week here as equities came under some pressure, but the highlight for me is in crypto, which remains quite choppy. So let's look at a few charts. Last week I talked about Microstrategy kind of usurping Bitcoin's role as the high risk, high beta, swingy play. I've always thought about crypto's great utility as being an indicator of risk-taking appetite, a sort of monitor of animal spirits, a barometer of risk-taking, if you will, across markets. But Microstrategy, which now has potential zero downside, theoretically, because the company can go bankrupt, Bitcoin is always going to trade above zero, theoretically, then you have more risk in Microstrategy. So that's why watching, number one, Microstrategy first. So first the technicals on Microstrategy, which I believe will kind of lead Bitcoin's price action a little bit. Another pretty big red day, but you've generally got a couple layers of support, namely the one basically that we've been hovering at right now, which is in the high 300s. If you start breaking down to make lower lows for Microstrategy, that basically requires you to get below 350. That becomes notable if MSTR, master if you will, goes below 350. The other thing too that I'm watching for both is relative strength. I love the simple RSI metrics for crypto and generally high risk assets, because when you get into these frothy moments of animal spirits, momentum builds on itself, and that's what is particularly powerful about crypto's past. When you've seen these explosive moves, once a momentum reaches a certain point, it builds from there. That's what you saw for Microstrategy, where you kept getting RSI higher and higher while the stock was going up. But since what you've been getting is lower and lower, so you do have this bearish divergence in the momentum as measured by RSI and Microstrategy, which is not great. Even though I've got the green lights on crypto, the point that I'm getting to is that we're pretty close to maybe flipping that light yellow if we make lower lows, because what you're already getting to in Bitcoin as well is that kind of bearish divergence in the RSI. But this is what's more important about BTC. It's not just the short term. This is not the worst RSI situation, but it is starting to get there as it's been stuck under that overbought. You want overbought, especially when it comes to a hyper momentum stock. So BTC, basically the same story. You've still been getting the higher lows, nothing to be concerned about right now. But just monitoring Bitcoin 2 on the long term, what's important here is that you still do have that long-term bearish divergence, which I talked about, which the ETF run-up brought you to this incredible momentum of RSI. And we actually haven't surpassed that. So even though this was such a big move, we'll call it the Trump 2.0 move, the SEC move, whatever you want to call it, it still has been less, just because you think about the magnitude, the percent change going from mid-30s then up to what we got in the ETF world, first getting to that 75 level, relative of going from, let's call it 60, kind of from here up to 100. Obviously a big move, but percentage-wise, that means that you're going to have a lower RSI. And my point that I made still in the entirety of Bitcoin's history is that it actually does have this bearish divergence going back through all of its all-time highs. The point that I was making here is that you really want that to break. If you are bullish crypto and Bitcoin, you want to see the higher high for the RSI, not just on the short term, but the long term. We haven't had it. So watch the crypto prices, because if they start to soften up more, then I think you might have some issues. The light would go yellow in crypto. And it might also for stocks too, because I'm also noticing the dollars remain bid even while yields are down. I'm wondering if that's kind of showing a little bit of risk off percolating. Nothing big just yet. The first thing to go would be this equity, rather the crypto green light to yellow, and then we'll see what it does for stocks. But I do think there is that linkage in these moments of speculative animal spirits, fervor, utility in Bitcoin and crypto, is that it indicates risk-taking appetite when it turns. So watch it closely.